my next question. I mean, Labour, the election hasn't even happened yet, and you're already blaming the next Westminster government for something. This is. Let me finish this question and make this point, and it's not a brief point, but it's an important one. It's the main criticism, actually, that's levelled at your party, this kind of abdication of responsibility. If there are problems with public services, it's Westminster's fault, and it doesn't stop there. If there are problems with policing, well, that's a matter for Police Scotland. If it's the courts, it's the Scottish Court Service. If it's the prisons, it's the Prison Service. If it's the NHS, it's local health boards, or it's decisions for doctors, or it's council spending. If it's education, that's for councils as well. If it's business, it's Scottish enterprise. What do you take responsibility for as a government?
Everything.
Do you? Because you seem to, the accusation is you deflect responsibility. I've just given you a list of areas where you say it's somebody else's fault or problem.
Well, I don't say these things. Do you ever watch First Minister's questions?
Always, every single one.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're one of the audience, because that's where I'm held to account for the performance of the government. That's been for a relatively short space in time, I accept. But there's a fundamental issue here, Martin, where as a political leader in Scotland, I will take responsibility for the actions of my government, but I'll also give people an explanation about what is driving those circumstances. So let's just take one of these issues about the public finances. So we've taken decisions over a number of years for which I sit here and take full responsibility to increase taxes for people on higher earnings so we can generate more revenue to invest in our public services. So as a result of those decisions, where we in the Scottish Government have increased taxes for higher earners, we're generating £1.5 billion more of investment in our public services. So we're deploying that. We've still got challenges in the delivery of our public services. Why is that the case? That's the case because the other bit of our budget, which comes from Westminster, is affected by Westminster austerity and the 14 years of spending cuts that we've had from the Tories, which will be prolonged by the Labour Party. So there is me accepting responsibility for tax changes that the Scottish Government has made, but giving an explanation about why we can't meet all of the demands of people because of
the credit and deflecting the blame.
Well, accepting the credit for tax increases is a really interesting way to express it.
You always say, look, we've done this for you because we raised the taxes on the better off. But when it's why didn't you do that, it's always somebody else's fault.
Well, I'm simply saying that the resources we've got available to us in Scotland are a product of two things. The decisions we take ourselves, and we've taken decisions which I'm openly accepting, have increased taxes on higher earners. But our budget is also significantly affected by the decisions taken.
You're making my point. We can do the things we want to do because we've raised taxes, but here's the problem: we can't do some stuff because it's somebody else's fault. Do you think it's a reasonable criticism out with public policy, police, NHS, education, courts, business, all those things? Is it unreasonable to suggest that blame or the reasons for failings are always pointed further down the track than central government?
No, because I don't think that's what we do. What we're doing is giving an explanation which is central to this election campaign, that austerity is killing our public services. That's what's happening. I can't say it any more bluntly than that, and I've been saying it for 6 weeks. And the Institute for Fiscal Studies has in the course of this week, has demolished the Labour position on public investment because they have said there is going to be £18 billion worth of spending cuts, which Labour have signed up to. So what I've been saying for 6 weeks, that there's going to be a continuation of austerity under an incoming Labour government, has been completely validated by the Institute for Fiscal Studies.
What's the UK's debt to GDP ratio at the moment? Do you know?
It's very close to 100%.
Yeah, so they should be. What should they be doing? They should be borrowing more.
Well, what they've got to do is what the Labour Party, the mistake the Labour Party is about to make, is they're going to sign up to the same fiscal rules as the Tories, and they're not accepting the importance of long-term investment in the economy. Now, we've set out in our manifesto the need for us to move to fiscal rules which acknowledge the importance of investment in public infrastructure to strengthen the economic foundations of the country. Now, we're experiencing in Scotland today cuts in our capital budget, which will make it more difficult for us to invest in roads, rail projects, schools, hospitals, all the rest of it. And that's essential infrastructure investment for the long-term stability.
Are you saying the Labour
economy.
manifesto doesn't mention growth? It's entirely based on growth.
Well, it doesn't on investment in the public finances. finances, it does not do what is necessary.
That's how you generate the money to invest in the public finances, isn't it?
Well, if you can generate that growth. But my point is, I don't think there's a growth proposition from the Labour Party because there isn't sufficient investment in our public services.
Let me move on. Do you